beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I am home for fall break this weekend, hence why when I go back to my pre-recorded videos, my hair will suddenly be longer. Do not be alarmed. Those are just old videos I pre-filmed and this is a new one. And I wanted to show you guys some of the books that I have bought recently because I have made several Barnes & Noble purchases, even though I have a very large to-be-read pile. Did I really need these books? No, but I wanted them, and I have really bad self-control. Also, when Barnes & Noble sends me an email saying that I can get a large percentage off my order, I feel kind of obligated to buy something. So, yeah, I'm not making very good life decisions. Do not follow my example, but I wanted to show you guys these books that I got and also update you on what I'm currently reading. So first, Barnes & Noble was having a sale on young adult hardcovers where they were 50% off, so I actually bought 3 recent YA releases in hardcover. Usually I don't buy hardcover books because if I'm going book shopping, I would rather be able to buy multiple paperbacks instead of buying just one more expensive hardcover. But since they were having such a great deal on these select titles, and there were several titles in there that I had wanted to read, I decided to get them. The first book, and you already know what this is if you looked at my thumbnail, is My Plain Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodie Meadows. This is the second book in their My Lady Janies series. I think that's what it's called. Though you do not have to have read the first book, My Lady Jane, to understand this one. All of the books completely stand on their own. I really enjoyed reading My Lady Jane. I thought it was super funny and cute, and that even though it was written by 3 different authors, their writing styles worked so well together and it felt really cohesive as if it had been written by one person. So this second book is a retelling of Jane Eyre, and even though I've never read Jane Eyre, I thought I really wanted to pick this book up because I liked the first book so much. I do know the basics of the Jane Eyre story. I read the Great Illustrated Classics version when I was an elementary schooler, but I don't think that really counts as having read Jane Eyre, considering it was, a very short retelling meant for children and not the full story. But I'm excited to read this because I really liked the first book in this series so much. I liked how they all worked together, and I'm hoping this will be a really fun, funny read for me, and maybe even a little spooky for the fall, considering it deals with ghosts. The next book that I purchased from this Barnes & Noble sale is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. This book is a little different from things I usually read. This book follows our main character Beatrice as she reunites with her former high school best friends. Back in high school, her boyfriend Jim died, and now Beatrice wants to find out what really happened to Jim. In the midst of this awkward reunion among former friends, they end up finding out they are now stuck in a time loop, and if they want to end this time loop, they need to make a very difficult decision. So this book is sort of part sci-fi due to this time loop twist, and also part mystery because we're trying to find out what happened to their dead friend Jim. And I think that's really interesting how it combines different genres into one book. I also think it has a really cool looking cover. I have seen plenty of people hold this book up in YouTube videos, but I didn't realize until I got it that this is actually a face. From afar, I thought it was just a cliff or a mountain or something like that, but it's actually a face, and it's a really, really cool, gloomy cover. I really, really like it. The last book that I picked up from this Barnes & Noble sale was Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, and this is a new fantasy standalone, and it follows a girl who finds out that her previously believed to be dead brother is now fighting for their rival clan, and now trapped in the ranks of this clan that she has been raised to hate, she finds out there is a common enemy that they need to team up to defeat. There's also a romance with her brother's best friend, who is of this rival clan. What I like about this book is that it is a standalone fantasy novel, which you don't see a lot of, so it's not a huge commitment, it's just a one and done book, and I like that because I want to read more fantasy, but I also don't want to be reading 10 different fantasy series at one time. So I like that this is a standalone novel with what seems like a badass female protagonist. I also just remembered before I move on that while I did not buy this book in the fall, I don't believe I mentioned in a video that I purchased it. Over the summer while I was in San Francisco, I went to the famous City Lights bookstore, which was a influential bookstore in the Beat movement with writers like Jack Kerouac, that sort of thing. And while I was there, I saw they had these beautiful Penguin Classic editions of Jane Austen books, these beautiful hardcovers. And I decided I was going to buy Emma by Jane Austen because I haven't read that book. I have seen the movie, and even though I do really like Pride and Prejudice, I already own a copy of it, so I figured it would probably be a better decision to buy a book that I haven't read yet, and I think it is super cute. I left the book at my house. I'm at my dad's house right now, so I don't have it to hold up, but here's what it looks like. I think it is super, super cute, and I am excited to read that because I have really enjoyed the two Jane Austen books that I have read so far, Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, and I really want to read every single Jane Austen novel at some point because I really, really enjoy her. So the last two books that I have in this little book haul, my dad purchased for me because he had a Barnes & Noble membership discount and he wanted to get me some books because he's just a nice dad like that. So I told him that I wanted some more YA fantasy and he got me two YA fantasy books that are in the first in a series. The first of these is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I know that this book is very polarizing on BookTube. There are a lot of people on BookTube who don't like it. However, there are a lot of people who also really do like it, and it has a pretty high rating on Goodreads. It's over 4 stars. I'm not sure the exact number, but a pretty high rating. And I wanted to give it a try because I've heard this is a good book to read if you are only just starting to get into fantasy, and obviously I haven't read a lot of fantasy because, like I said in the past, when I was younger, I had this idea in my head that I didn't like fantasy. I kind of just wrote it off without ever trying it, and now I'm really getting into it for the first time. So I thought this would be a good introductory read for me to the fantasy genre. Also, Victoria Aveyard, I know her via the 6 Degrees of Separation. Her dad actually works for the same company that my dad works for, just in a different branch. He works in the Connecticut office, whereas I live in Pennsylvania. So my dad actually knows her dad. Just a interesting connection there. So it's sort of like I know her, right? And the last book in this haul is Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. What I think seems really cool about this fantasy series is that it follows 3 sisters who live in a matriarchal society where they all need to compete to see who will be the new queen. And a lot of fantasy books take place in patriarchal societies where women do not have a lot of rights. And you know, I get that. Historically, royal societies favored men. Women do not have a lot of rights. Women were often used as political pawns to make marriages, blah, blah, blah. I get that. It's historically accurate. But after a while, it gets kind of tiring seeing these women continually being repressed. And I think it's really cool that this is a society where women hold the power. It's really interesting and different to me, so I'm excited to get to this book as well. Finally, before I wrap this video up, I wanted to update you guys on what I am currently reading. It is October, so I wanted to pick up a little more spooky Halloween-esque read. So I am reading The Essential Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. I really do like Poe's poems. Annabel Lee is one of my favorite poems of all time, and I had read a couple of his short stories, but some of them, including really famous ones like The Telltale Heart, I had never read before, so I wanted to read some more of his short stories, and so far I am liking most of them. There were a couple that I was only so-so on. My one main complaint is specifically with this edition of the Essential Tales and Poems. There aren't any footnotes, and I think there are certain times where we could have benefited from footnotes explaining archaic words that a modern reader is not going to know the meaning of. Also, in the murders in Rue Morgue that takes place in Paris, there are French words and phrases that are used throughout the story, and I don't speak French, so I had to look all of those up, and I think it would have really just made sense to include in the footnotes what those French words meant in English. This month, I also hope to finish a book I started in September that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I've read over 100 pages of that, and so far, I really like it. The character of Kath is someone who I relate to a lot, being a socially awkward fangirl trying to navigate college. So I really like the story so far, and I'm excited to finish it, hopefully very soon. I do read slower when I'm at college just because I have a lot of work to do, so that's why I'm not reading as quickly as I usually do, and that's just a disappointing reality, but I think I'll probably finish it by the end of October. So guys, that is it for this video. Please like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye! I'll see you next time.